What happened on Monday Night Raw last night? I'll be honest with you. If you followed the channel recently, you know I've been a lot more positive. This is one of the weeks that it was a little bit hard to be positive, but there were some bright sides, and I want to focus on those. If you want to hear everybody else bash the show, feel free to go check out anybody else that talks about it that may not have, the greatest things to say. I'll be honest with you. A lot of people are upset that Roman Reigns versus Rusev was given away on TV right before their pay-per-view match. And honestly, I think it's a good thing. I don't think it was the smartest decision in the world, but it definitely helps play into Rusev's card. Everybody assumes that Roman Reigns is being buried, that Roman Reigns is being de-pushed, he's being delisted, he's being whatever the hell insider term you want to use. But is Roman Reigns being quote-unquote de-pushed, or is Rusev, one of the greatest heels going, a mid-card champion, trying to be elevated to the main event scene by a former 3-time champion? In my WWE, the one I'm looking at based on what's been provided on TV would go to suggest that this is to help get Rusev over. Now, the crowd noise last night, when I watched it, I did not see Monday Night Raw live last night. I watched it on DVR. And when I was watching it on DVR, I got to the main event, and the crowd that was very dead, they popped maybe once or twice throughout the whole night. Corpus Christi has had a bad history of Monday Night Raw because they haven't really had Monday Night Raws. They've had the SmackDown shows, which they tape off the arena usually for like 3,000 to 4,000 people. It's usually one of the worst attendance based on past ones that I remember tweets from. It was also the same place that Elimination Chamber was changed from a SmackDown live event to Elimination Chamber. So let's be honest here, that's kind of a big deal. But it should go to show the kind of crowds that were going to be there. If they normally can't even sell X amount and you're packing an arena just for Monday Night Raw, will the crowd be any good? I will say this. I'm kind of disappointed because last night's main event probably used, according to some rumors on Reddit, if you know what Reddit is, the W before Reddit, Square Wrestling Circle, people are putting up proof that the crowd was piped in. There was a couple spots where you did hear cheers for like a 1 count before the 1 even happened or even close. There were some other audio examples where people aren't even moving, and yet there's cheers for Roman. Now, I'll be honest with you. I did not notice this at first on live TV. At first, I was a fan of this. I legitimately went, wow, these guys are beating the hell out of each other before a pay-per-view. They have no reason to continue to do this. If you normally pay attention, going into a pay-per-view, the typical stereotypical thing that WWE does is the champion would win dirty or have some sort of a disqualification or something to make it look like Roman Reigns was screwed. Bar none. Other than when you first start a feud and you get a victory over somebody to become a challenger. Here, he came out first and speared him 1 week. The next week, he comes out and messes with his wife, Lana, drops some comedy lines. And this week, he finally got the victory. It built up to it. It was not a victory in the same way WWE feuds normally start. Normally, WWE feuds start in the last 6 months or the last couple years is, they have a match, and you hear Michael Cole go, that has to put him in contendership for the number 1 contendership. Here, we had him come out first, we had to mess with him later, and ultimately we got a match. Now, I would have been a little bit more excited if Rusev and Roman Reigns had ended their segment after the backstage beatdown. Leave somebody standing, leave somebody laid out after the vicious beatdown, and you can kind of tease it. And I think that may have been a better way to go, but I'm not the one writing the show. I'm just talking about what I saw on television. And what I saw on television, based on what I saw, not on the dirt sheet speculations about the crowd. Because I'll be honest with you, there are some crowds that are really bad. And here's the thing. You do pay to go to your event, and you can feel free to cheer, do what you want. But if you are going to go to shows, and you are sick of talent being quote-unquote buried, and you are not helping get the superstars over you love, and you're not cheering for them, and you're doing this "we are awesome" chants. I have no problem with those chants for self-loathing crowds because you pay money to be a part of it. However, By that same aspect, if you're doing a match and you have Cesaro versus Sheamus and you want Cesaro to get over, but you're making no noise whatsoever in the match and have pretty much been silent, you're not helping do the one thing you want the most. So, in cases of extreme crappy crowds, I, for the first time ever, would admit that piping in crowds on Monday Night Raw worked. I got behind it. Coming into it, everybody said Monday Night Raw wasn't good. Everybody had said that Monday Night Raw was pretty meh. And at first, I was like, okay, the show, I was going through it. I kind of agreed with it. I was sitting there like, I get it. This kind of makes sense. We'll have to see where it goes from here. There were some slow segments, and we're going to talk about those because Heath Slater's segment was absolutely fantastic. But Roman Reigns and Rusev go to have this huge match. Now, a lot of people are speculating that he went over clean, Rusev can retain. I honestly think this is to elevate Rusev to the main event. Now, I could be wildly wrong, and there would be nothing wrong with that because Roman Reigns going from a World Heavyweight Champion to winning the U.S. title is the same thing as John Cena winning it. A former 15-time champion, a former face of the company, or the face of the company, holding the mid-card title helps elevate it. So if Roman Reigns is down there, having him be a part of the title should, in theory, raise it. Now, for most people, you're going to say, no, that's not the case because of the fact that Roman Reigns has been pushed down our throat. Even ESPN ran the article about last night saying WWE gave away too much before SummerSlam, and it probably was not the right way to go, especially with Finn Balor and the Demon King. Seth Rollins was looking around trying to find the Demon King. Ultimately, he would come out to the ring. After a fan tried to rush the ring, he got tackled, and he came out. Now, Finn does a great job here of showing off what's different, his style as the Demon King, as Finn Balor in the Demon paint. But here's the thing. Did they give away too much? Should they have waited for the pop at Barclay? Or should the crowd be conditioned going into Sunday that this is what they can expect and we saw the character difference first? If you have a new character on TV and you have to assume that if there's only 1.5 million network subscribers but 3 million viewers of Raw, you have to assume possibly that 1.5 million people have no idea who Finn is. And if you're going into a pay-per-view and you're trying to sell a match and you're trying to sell this guy as a legitimate option to Dean Ambrose, who you've known and loved, who's been a part of the Shield for years, you're going to need to show something that makes me feel like he actually has a shot. And that's where coming out in the Demon King outfit made sense to me. That I do think it would have been a huge pop, especially in Brooklyn, where you have fans flying in from around the world, a WrestleMania-esque card, a stacked card, to have him debut in front of that crowd with a chance versus the crowd in Corpus Christi would have helped elevate that more. But conditioning fans ahead of time who have never seen him, so they're not explaining on pay-per-view last minute, well, why is he dressed like Demon King? That's where announcing this or having him come out ahead of time makes sense, and I think personally works. Now, I want to jump on to Heath Slater really quick as well. Heath Slater has been bouncing around. He had an opportunity to qualify on SmackDown, didn't get it. Rhino took a beating. Daniel said, we might just end up signing you. He left the building. Daniel said, had you stayed in the building, they would have signed him, but he went up and left, and then he shows up on Monday Night Raw. He has been one of the most consistent booked storylines on Monday Night Raw, and I really dug it. He comes out who's interrupting Brock Lesnar and Paul Heyman who are in the ring. Now, when you're in the ring and you've got Brock Lesnar there, that's kind of intimidating. And he's talking about his family. He has to put food on the table. And I've said this for the longest time. I love what I do on YouTube, but at the end of the day, it helps put food on the table. So when somebody tries to say something to me, you have to realize I'm putting food on the table for the people I love. That's what Heath Slater comes out and says, and he brings up his kids. And Brock, I don't give a shit about your kids. Suplex City, F5, Heath Slater gets taken out. What happens then? He is more resilient. He'll come back out on SmackDown or the next week and continue to fight for a match until somebody finally gives in and gives him that contract. I would love to see him just show up at Evolve for one pay-per-view to try to get the hype. So those are the three big things I kind of understood from Monday Night Raw. You could also talk about the Dana Brooks segment because it kind of made sense to kind of put a red herring out there ultimately I wasn't too big of a fan of it. I like the fact that Sasha was held in that figure 8 for so long. It helped give Charlotte that edge, so when Sasha overcomes her, it makes more sense. You look at everything else that happened, the Titus O'Neil thing kind of made sense because it looked like, yeah, we're back together. And then he laid him out after they had feuded. They had gone back and forth. It's kind of standard tag team booking where you put them together, see if they can coexist, and it worked. I want to know what you guys thought of Monday Night Raw. Did it work? Did it not work? And where are your thoughts on Rusev and Roman Reigns? Do you agree with me that this is possibly to elevate Rusev, or is this WWE just trying to push Roman Reigns down the people's throats? Let me know in the comment section below, and until next time, my name is Tubby Emu, and we'll see you all later.